Hi everyone. I want to go through and just add another video for some clarification this week. Give me just 1 minute. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so what I'm going to show you first is going to be a document that contains just an example from Unit 3, just so that you know what I'm referring to. It's actually exercise 1 from Unit 3. This document is an example of what that assignment should have looked like, so the proper formatting. All right, so I believe you can see my document as it's pulled up here. Let me maximize it, there we go. So you can see right here between the date line and the address line, there are just about two lines of space. The way that I look at this, I consider how tall this is, and then if I look at it and I know that I could stack two of that same line in there, I know that's correct. So based on the instructions in the sample formatting document that you've all been referring to, you were to press enter twice between the date line and the address. So this is an example of that done properly. And same down here under sincerely, there's again two spaces where there should be. And then just for your reference, here under Dear Mr. Hill, there's one space as there should be. So that was pressing enter one time. And then, of course, this section, the address section, there is not space between the lines. That's where you use the shift enter. And if you're still a little confused about that, I recommend going back and watching the video that I posted earlier this weekend so that you can hear the difference there between those. So that's what this document looks like. And now I'm going to share a different document, excuse me, one that is representative of what I received from a lot of you. So let me share this document now. The error in this document that I'm going to show you is so slight that yes, it's difficult for me to have to take points off because of the difference. But I will say it is, you're far enough along in the course now that, once I explain it, I think you'll really understand. So here I'm pulling up a document that is actually the same assignment from actually the same person. I just went ahead and changed it based on what a lot of you were doing. And it is incorrect. So here's this. Maximize it. Okay, so similar document, but as I look at it, it's not the same. So remember up here in your sample format document, it tells you that you need 2 lines of space between August 31st and the address line. So when I'm looking at this, I see way more than 2. So I can stack this date line on top of itself lots of times, almost like, I think maybe 4 times in that amount of space that exists currently right there. So that to me says, okay, this student who submitted this document has something incorrect with their spacing. And you can also tell here there's a lot of space between this paragraph and the following paragraph. Now, what a lot of you did, you noticed that there was a lot of space between these 2 paragraphs, so you backspaced and you eliminated a big portion of that line. And usually that would be a pretty good workaround, except for the issue with this document is not the technical number of times that you pressed enter to achieve the space, because I know many of you probably pressed enter 2 times between the date and Mr. John Hill, and it still ended up looking like this. That's because, unfortunately, there is a hidden, sort of a tricky little formatting command that is applied that you maybe don't realize. And again, I'll address this is a default on many computers that is, difficult to even know that it's turned on unless you know how to turn it off. So what I shared in my most recent video that I shared is sort of how to identify that little toggle, that little trick is turned on or turned off. So what I want to highlight in this video here is just what it actually looks like if I change that setting within my document. So I'm going to bring up a new document here, bear with me. Okay, so this document is an example of that document that we were just looking at, the one where I said that the spacing is incorrect. So you can see up here, we started out with 3 nice spaces. We keyed in the 3 spaces from the top, just like the instructions told us to. Here we have 2, which at first glance is correct. Down here we have 1. It looks like so far so good. Except what I want to draw your attention to is the space that exists between the lines. So we've got a paragraph line here and a paragraph line here. But if you notice, there's white space between those two. They're not touching like this information is. So remember in the last video I told you the reason we use Shift plus Enter to achieve this is because we want to tell our computer, hey, I know what I want my document to look like, and I'm going to alter what you're automatically going to apply to the text so that it looks like I need it to, not like my computer thinks I need it to, which is a little bit tricky and confusing, and I apologize on behalf of Microsoft Word, I guess. So what I want to point out, again, the space between these, you think not a big deal. The teacher can see that I pressed enter twice. I'm doing things correctly, except that's not the case, because remember at the very top of your block letter sample document that you refer to, it says don't forget to turn off the paragraph spacing marks before you turn in your work. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to me whenever we turn off the paragraph marks. So nothing is going to change on this document except for the little black icons are going to be removed. So, okay, it looks a lot cleaner now, easier to look at. But as I'm looking at this in Canvas, you know, the document that you turn into me without the paragraph symbols, it looks to me like, oh no, this person added too much space between the date line and the address. So me looking at it, I can say, well, it looks like they pressed enter 4 times, or maybe they've added space after their paragraph, which should not have happened. So I'm going to turn the paragraph markers back on, and I'm going to just apply that little trick that I taught you in the last video. And though it is a trick, it is, you know, I taught you a quicker way to do it, but I certainly still expected you to be able to apply the proper formatting without that trick. Because, like I said in the last video, the trick is just another way of checking your work, something that I thought would be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the paragraph symbols back on. And then I'm going to highlight the entire document. Oops. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to highlight my entire document, and then I'm going to go here to the line and paragraph spacing drop-down menu. And I'm going to go down here where it says remove space after paragraph. So now you can see I still have 3 lines of space up here, and I still have 2 lines of space between the date and the address line. But the difference is that white space has been eliminated. So you see that it brought the entire document back together. Now we'll take away the paragraph symbols. And you can see now that is the proper formatting for your block letter. If you have any additional questions on this, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I just want to reiterate, I know that this can be confusing, and I know that that seemingly very small detail is probably enough to make some of your heads spin. You know, don't let this little thing kind of intimidate you from the rest of the class. Just consider now you know, and you know, maybe you did get points taken off on an assignment, but you know, if that was the only mistake you made on your document, odds are you still got an A or maybe a really high B or something. So I said at the beginning of the class, I really appreciate attention to detail. This is just another one of those small details that you can make sure you add to your to-do list. All right, everyone, thank you for listening.